Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Let's continue with topic 5 on repetition structures. What we have learned so far is running our program only once, meaning that in the program where we ask the user to enter a number, for example, we have to run the code again if we want the user to enter another number. Even in the selection structure, when we look at the if, else or switch case, it happens only once unless we write the same code many times. So, to enable a portion of the code to be repeated, we will learn how to do it in this topic. There are several repetition structures that we can use, which are while statements, do-while statements, and for statements. Don't be mistaken with if-else and switch case statements. If, else, and switch case are selections, meaning that it will execute the statements depending on either the condition is true or false. By the end of this topic, we hope to be able to use while, do-while, and for statements, and to interchangeably use one or the other, as all of these repetition structures can do similar things, only slightly different syntax and flow. In the first part of this topic, we are going to look at while loop. What does it mean by repetition? Repetition controls a block of code to be executed for a fixed number of times or until a certain condition is met. In Java, repetition can be done using while, do-while, and also for. We are going to learn how to use all of this. The syntax for while loop is while, and then you would write the expression, and then the statement. Similar to if and if-else, if there is only one statement, we do not need to write the braces. But normally, we would have more than one statement. So it all depends on what you want your program or the repetition part to contain. The while statement evaluates expression or condition which must return a Boolean value. If the expression or condition is true, the statements in the while block is executed. It continues testing the expression or the condition and executing its block until the expression or condition evaluates to false. We are going to look at some examples to make sense of this. This figure here is showing the flowchart of while loop. Similar to if-else, it has two conditions, true or false, where in this case, if it is true, it will execute the statement and check again the condition. It will keep on looping and execute the statement again and again until the condition becomes false. In while loop, the expression will be written within the diamond shape, and the statement, it depends whether it's an output or input or the process, so it will use the shape accordingly. Also, remember to label your true and false. Let's look at this example. Say that we have int I equal to 1, then we have the while loop where we want the statements system.out.print the value of I to be repeatedly printed out on the screen until the value of I becomes 5 or larger than 5. So the expression that we have here is while I less than 5. We also need to write I++ because otherwise our variable I will always be 1 and the while loop will never end. So when we run this code, our I is currently equal to 1. It checks, is 1 less than 5? That is true. It executes the while loop and display 1 because we have our system.out.print and we want to display the value of I. Then we have I++, so it becomes 2. So I++ is similar if you write it as I equal to I plus 1. I now has the value of 2, so we check again the condition in the while loop. It checks, is 2 less than 5? Because the condition is true, it executes the while loop and do system.out.print and print out the value of I. I will now display the value 2. On the next line, we have I++, so I is increased by 1, so it becomes 3. The same process continues. It checks, is 3 less than 5? That is true, so it executes the while loop, so it will do system.out.print and display the value of I, which is 3. Then it goes to the next line where we have I++. So I++ it increased our value of I by 1, so I now becomes 4. Now that our I is equal to 4, it checks again, is 4 less than 5? That is true, so it executes the while loop and displays the value 4. Then we have I++, so our I now becomes 5. It checks, is 5 less than 5? That is false, so it exits the while loop. So the output that we get from the while loop is 1, 2, 3, and 4. From here, you can kind of see that the while loop ends because I has the value of 5 from the increment. If we don't have the increment, the loop will never end. You can compile the code without any error, but it will keep on displaying 1 over and over again until you run out of memory. So, it is important that when you are using repetition, check the flow of your code so that it will not be stuck in an infinite loop. Let's look at another example of while loop. Here we have int sum equal to 0, number equal to 1. We have while, and the expression is number less than or equal to 10. Within the while block, we have sum plus equal number, meaning that we will do sum equal to sum plus number. Then we increase the value of variable number by 5, so we wrote number equal to number plus 5. We then display the value of the sum. What do you think the output of this code? Let's go through it step by step as before. We know that the value of number is 1, so we check, is 1 less than or equal to 10? That is true, so it will execute the statements within the while loop. We will do sum equal to sum plus number, which is 0 plus 1 equal to 1. We then increment the number by 5, so we do number equal to 1 plus 5, which is equal to 6. So the value of sum is now 1 and the value of number is 6. We then print the value of sum, which we have calculated to have the value of 1. So it will display sum and the number 1. Let's check again the expression if this is true to repeat the while loop. The value of number is currently 6 and sum is 1. Is 6 less than or equal to 10? That is true, so it will execute all the statements within the while loop again. We will do sum equal to sum plus number, which is 1 plus 6 equal to 7. Then increment the number by 5, where we get number equal to 6 plus 5 equal to 11. We then print the value of sum, which we have calculated, so it will display sum 7. Now the value of sum is 7 and number is 11. Is this still valid to execute the while loop? It checks, is 11 less than or equal to 10? This becomes false, so it exits the while loop. So based on this example, you can see that you can do any type of calculations such as increment, which is increased by 1 or increased by 5, to turn the expression from true to false, depending on what you want your code to do and how many times it needs to repeat the statements within the loop. You can combine if, else, and switch case within your while loop, and you can even have multiple while loop, which is while loop within the while loop. We are going to look into the nested later on in this topic. To summarize, in the while loop, the expression must be either true or false. When it is true, all the statements in the while block are executed until the condition or expression becomes false. Then it will exit the while block. We need to make sure that it will become false at some point, otherwise we are stuck in an infinite loop. For example, we can use increment or decrement. So that's all for while loop. We are going to continue with do while in the next part.